what I've done is I've been using Weebly. I started last year as a result of trying to get credit for the Costa Rica trip, and I wanted a way to get information to the students, but also to um, have them basically get information back to me. And so what I figured I would do is just talk real quick about the the process of creating the website and the process of getting it out to the students, and then kind of what I'm doing currently. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to jump in. I really want this to be geared towards you guys. You know, whatever help you need or whatever questions you have. Not so much about what I've done, but just I think that's a good starting point. But you know, whatever help you need or whatever questions you have, feel free to ask, and I'll share future ideas as well. Was kind of the format I was thinking about. Actually, are there any questions to begin with? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at where I started with this whole process. I travel to Costa Rica every 2 years, and I've never had it so that it was available for credit. So we created this website. You can see over here, I explained in the YouTube videos on how to create this, but there's a lot of good options there for creating the web page. And so down here, there's some premium options, but for the most part, the biggest stumbling block I had was where it says HD video. I found that you couldn't import that or import audio, but you can upload to YouTube. And so even if you had something you wanted to share with the students, you could upload that to YouTube. And so it was really great format for setting up a way for students to participate in a trip before we actually go on a trip. And I just want to double check and make sure everyone can see that I'm scrolling through the slideshow, correct?
That food looked really good.
Okay, so yeah, you guys can't see it. Good. All right. So then what I did was I posted some videos and some discussion forums, and that's another feature I really liked about Weebly was the discussion forum was a way to have them participate, and so I can actually see the members I have there. I could ask them questions. You know, what do you expect before we even go? I put in some crash course videos. I love crash course biology and ecology. And then actually our tour director sent us out a video, just sort of a fun video ahead of time, so I posted that. And then the other nice thing was it gave different pages, and so I could go to the different pages and have different categories for each one.
Can I ask you a question about the discussion?
Yeah.
Did you assign the questions, make it a requirement, or did you just kind of say, I'm going to put this on here, I'm going to ask you questions, and you go ahead and kind of interact with each other if you want?
I did assign them. They had to interact with them before they left. And so, yeah, it was basically just get it done before you leave because it was kind of last minute. But there were things that I wanted them to answer and wanted them to think about. And so then after they responded about what they thought, then I said, all right, so this week you're supposed to go ahead and take a look at what to know before you go. And so then there's just general information and you know, a map, which was a nice feature to insert. And then we got to talk about ecotourism, and there were multiple videos there. Sometimes I gave them choices about watch one of these videos. You know, you select the video you want to talk about. Other times it was watch all the videos. So share your ideas about ecotourism and sustainability. And so that gave me some ideas about what their thought process was as they were learning. And then there was a different web quest for each region. So one of the first regions we visit is the central region in the Poas volcano. It talks here about different ecology issues that we would see in that area. Again, a map that they can interact with and explore the region. And the other nice thing about it was my students were definitely much more prepared than the students from the other group that was with us as far as just understanding about the area and even about different terminology. We went on a couple of guided tours, and I could definitely tell that many of the students had paid attention and had interacted with the material because they knew terms such as sustainability and ecotourism, and just understanding how this information impacted them and impacted the culture of Costa Rica. So, anyways, that was basically the trip in general, and then finally they had to do a photo and video journal, and on that page I have some different terms that they might not be familiar with, so I had links to pages that would explain what they are. But basically they had to take pictures of all of these, or selections of these. Some of the things while we were on a trip we found out, well, we didn't actually get a chance to take a look at, and so I might have removed it while we were on a trip, or some of the events changed, and so I said, okay, we didn't visit this place, so instead talk about, like, for example, we visited a cocoa plantation, which was not originally planned on the trip, and so I told them, here's another option, here's another video journal prompt, and I also let them combine different ideas. Like, for example, what are some examples of Tican's farming sustainability that you have seen? And then they could actually talk about how that impacts biodiversity, one of these biodiversity prompts. If they talked about both things and there was an overlap there, they could basically count the journal as double. Some of the students decided it'd be fun to actually work on the journals together and sort of have like a discussion. So some of them were working on that while we were there. The major problem with this project was that all the students had trouble with the internet when we were in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is still a developing country, and they had internet everywhere. The problem was the internet was most accessible at 5 in the morning and after 10 o'clock, which is about the times that the students woke up and about the times that they went to bed. The students actually got up at 6, so I would get up every morning and work on coursework from 5 to 6 in the morning. And just about the time everyone started waking up, the internet would start to slow down more and more and more because there were so many devices. The previous times when I went on a trip, there were much fewer devices, and I always just encourage students, go ahead and bring whatever devices you want to. Well, this time we had so many on the trip between the two groups and between all my students bringing their own Chromebook that the internet just got really bogged down. So they're still working on it, and I don't have any of the final projects from Costa Rica because once they got back, then they enjoyed the rest of the summer, and then after that, then they started school, and so they've been busy with their current classes. But a couple of them are working on their projects. So here's the example I gave to them of what I would like for them to work on. So here's an example, and so here's some pictures, and it talks about the different families, and these are pictures I took on my previous trips. Some video journals. There's a video journal of my son talking about sustainable farming in Perry. This is our garden that we built. And so this is basically what they're going to end up creating for me as an end product. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
Going back to how you felt your students were more prepared than the other students, do you think that it would have worked the same if you had said to them, oh, I want you to go to this website and look at this, and I want you to go to this website and look at this, like giving them lots of places? Or do you feel like part of the success was the fact that you put everything together in one website that you kind of custom tailored for the trip and for them?
I think that helped because everything was in one place, and it was nice because I found there's so many videos out there about ecologists discussing sustainability, problems with the ecosystem. Costa Rica is well known for what it does for the environment. They're a high green index country. There's one where it talks about the creation of their national parks, and then it compares some of the parks that were created in other parts of the world where they're having some issues. And the Costa Rica one also mentions how they changed some of their strategies and some of the problems that occurred. And so then the students were asked to reflect on that. And so in order to reflect on it, they actually had to sort of kind of look at the videos. A really good example is a Lake Arenal. That was actually built to create hydroelectricity, and they got the permission of the local residents, of the natives that lived in the area, and actually had their blessing and had their permission to make that lake and to relocate them in a manner that was acceptable to everyone, that didn't displace people. And then there's another video that's on that web page that discusses how in Brazil they're just forcing them out, get out or else, and it's a real problem. And so then I also had them look at some articles about some similar situations that have happened in the United States. From their responses, I could tell they reflected on it, and then that also helped them interact with the tour guides and such, because they understand their perspective. And I think when you have, all right, go to this website and look at it, they've got to type in a URL, they got to find it, whereas this is sort of more of a cohesive unit. You know, they're all, everything's in one place and they can just reflect right there.
I love it. How time consuming was it to sort of go back through and finding stuff that you didn't own? You know what I mean?
Previewing the videos was a lot of time, actually, and my wife previewed a lot of videos for me and found some stuff, and I'd come home and she'd be like, oh, I found this video today, and take a look at it. So she helped out a lot. So I did have that benefit, but yeah, it was a lot of time to go through and look at the videos. But in some ways, you can start to look at the video. I mean, sometimes you can just read the description and say, all right, I know this isn't going to work. Or you watch it, and within 30 seconds, you know where that video is going and whether it's going to have educational value or not. So that sped up the process quite a bit. And sometimes I'd find one and be like, oh, that's way better than the one I had previously, and I'd swap out videos. But yeah, so was there time consumption? Yeah, but it was worth it. Because I feel like the students got so much more out of the trip this time than they did on previous trips. So. Right.
Do you feel like you'll be able to just kind of continue to use that Weebly with the trip?
Yeah, definitely. I think the real application here is if you want to have like a flipped lessons, because that's really what I had to do for the Costa Rica trip, because they had to do everything before they left on the trip. And so in that sense, it was completely flipped. And yeah, I have that content from now on. I can update the pictures. I can add new material, and as the trip evolves and changes, I can change stuff too. Because every time I've gone on a trip, it's been different. It's not been the exact same trip, and so that's been helpful. From a classroom standpoint, I would like to start having some of my lessons on basically set up like that. Have the classroom, and then have a web quest maybe per unit, and have the students work through it and respond to it, and respond to the discussion questions, and then look at it. As far as production, I've started to incorporate it this fall. I've started to have the students use Weebly to present information to me, and it's sort of kind of the same thing. I'm seeing what information they're gathering on their own. So I always start off the year with basically an introduction to biology, and then I start with ecology. It's part of the content standards, and so normally I have them create a poster about a city and present that poster. And so this time what I did was I said create a Weebly, and so I'll go ahead and screen share again. I have some of the sample work. Last night at midnight it was due, and here are some of the ones that the students have submitted to me. What I had them do was they have to talk about an ecological issue in a city, or I gave them the choice of picking a biome of some sort or a region, and they have to talk about the climate, an ecological issue, and the population of the region. And so here's what one student created for me, and I can see right away that they have the idea that there was a lot of sand. They discuss about the landscape, different information about the climate and the geography. He made a link to a video, showed me on a map what it was. They did have to have precipitation and climate graphs, so he included that there. I think it's a bit small. I'd like to see it a little bit larger, but here are the pictures and the idea of what he had. Now I told him they had to link to an article or a video, and so this is the video that the student linked to. Another one I had early on was right here. This one was from about Montreal, and you can see there's his graphs, and he's supposed to include a climate summary. He's got a summary there. It's a little brief, but good. And then talks about the environment. Here's a link to an article, and then talks about some of the demographics of the population. Here's Victoria. And so this student broke it down onto different pages. And that's the other thing I like about Weebly is that they can actually enter in different pages. I found the format better for being customizable than some of the other blogging pages that I've seen. There's our environmental issues.
Do you feel like having the students create a Weebly as opposed to a poster allowed them more opportunity to be creative and customize and that sort of thing?
Yeah, because I felt like it was a little bit more open-ended, that they had the chance to sort of show me what they wanted to show me what they learned and gathered about the information. And the nice thing about it is before they turned into poster, it was done. And so like this person didn't show me, I'm not seeing anything here about climate, and so I'm going to tell this person, all right, well, you didn't share anything about climate. That was worth, I think, 20 points, so you've lost 20 points. You don't have that at all. I have the web address. You just have to fix it. Add to your project. And so it's a continuing, ongoing, and continual learning process. And I told them, I said, if you guys feel, this can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to create your own video and have a discussion, you can, or insert your own audio, you can. You just have to upload it to YouTube and then upload it to the web page. And I haven't read through this one yet, but apparently it has something to do with Pizza Hut. I'm not sure if they're the ones that are causing the pollution or not. But this student was pretty brief here. And so, I'll just say, you need to talk a little bit more about information that they did not include the graphs, so they're going to lose some points there. But they can add to that. This student took the very easy way out. They have information from Miami, Florida. They have a couple of nice pictures, but everything is click here for more. And so they keep bringing me to these external sites and didn't actually share much of their own information. So this tells me right away that they didn't really actually do anything as far as gather the information. They just found websites and clicked a link to it and submitted that. So I can see that they've really not learned much about the ecosystem, that they can just show me where it is on the internet, and that's good, but I want them to actually know something, so then they have to go back and summarize and add some of their own information.
That's awesome. I love that you can sort of gauge their learning from how they're presenting the material. Mm-hmm. Did you go into any sort of like digital citizenship as far as like copyright and that sort of information, like just going to Google and copying and pasting just any picture that they wanted, or citing or anything like that?
It's early in the year yet, so at this point I didn't really discuss too much about it. It was mentioned, and I'm working with the language arts department about basically information about citation and such. We're going to do an APA paper here soon, and so because we're only 2.5 weeks into the school year, I didn't really address that too much at this time. Something that I'm definitely going to work on as they at going forward from here. Where they're at, they're not quite that understanding, because they're used to being able to just take anything from anywhere. I told them to try to create the graphs. Now obviously many of them didn't. Like this one right here, I'm pretty sure that looks like that's from the website and been inserted. That being said, though, the idea was to find the information, and that's why I had them include the summary. I did discuss that I didn't want them to copy and paste Wikipedia. I said, I can find Wikipedia or another web page and read that on my own. What I want you to do is to, create a summary of what you've learned and post that. So I didn't address the pictures too much, but I did address actual words they put on there. Like I was saying, I did say a few things about, like, for example, fair use and such. um, and making sure that you're not using something that says copyright on it. I said, if it's copyrighted and somebody on their website says do not use without permission, I said then you need to avoid that. But that was about it for the guidelines. Like I said, I didn't want to get into too many details because it's still early in the year for citation and such.
That's totally understandable. Like, you want to take the time to teach them. So I was just curious, when they publish the website, is it published, like, available to the world, or is it privately published?
It's available to anyone who has the URL. There are ways to password protect it, but that requires either, I think, the premium, or you can do a school version, I believe, but that is only for a certain number of students. I want to say 20 or 30, maybe up to 40. You can password protect it, but if no one has the URL, it shouldn't be too much of a problem anyways, and probably most of the sites are going to come down shortly anyways. Basically after I grade it, I'm going to tell them to go ahead and just take down the sites.
Hey Ben, I know we had mentioned you're talking about there's a new app for it. Did you use the app on your iPad, or did you bring a computer with you on the trip?
The Weebly app?
Yeah.
I did mess around with it a little bit, and the students have it on their iPads. Many of them created the websites using their iPads. I think it's a little cumbersome. It's nice if you're just trying to import pictures and or edit a few things.
Okay. We're brainstorming ideas. Our kids are going on, we have a couple trips this year. So we're thinking about having them create the sites before they go, do some research ahead of time. And then when they get there, add their photos and add some comments, and not have to necessarily worry about the internet. So they're doing some free work and then follow up some work when they get back.
Right, and I think with the iPads, that's the ideal situation, is for while you're on trip. I mean, if you have internet access, you can have the site set up and you can hit publish right before you go to bed, and then it should be there in the morning.
And right now, your kids just did discussion questions when they were there, correct? That's how
they did the discussion questions before they left. While they were there, they were taking the pictures and doing the photos or the journals, but they had to finish up and organize the websites, and that was the problem, is they couldn't work on the websites while they were on trip because of the internet being so slow and getting it from their devices onto the Chromebooks. That was the problem with having two different devices. We didn't bring iPads, and if we had iPads, it would be much easier to import the pictures right off of the iPads onto there, because the Chromebooks weren't able to just take the pictures, I guess.
Well, I wonder, too, if they can work on it offline, so they can get everything all offline, because we're going to be in Europe, so I have no clue what kind of internet.
Yeah, I believe there's an offline option, and they can work on it. And like I said, then once they connect at night, they can hit publish, and they'll publish while they're sleeping. But nothing's put online until they publish. Matter of fact, that's actually a major problem with these. I teach a college course in which I hadn't taught the course in a couple of years because of the way the university had structured things. And then I came back, and lo and behold, they're having the students create their teacher websites using Weebly was one of them. There was a couple other options, and the students are coming back, and they're saying, I can't get my my website to show up online. I can't figure out what's going on. I can't get it to you. Or every time I click on the link that's in the URL bar, it just brings me to Weebly, and I don't want to go to Weebly. And I realized that they weren't clicking publish. So you can actually have everything set up, ready to go, and then when you're done, then you hit publish. So everything can be done offline ahead of time, and then just publish your work when you're finished. It just needs started online, really. So it could actually be started before you leave, which is kind of what my plan is for the next time, because they will have access to their iPads next time.
When you say offline, you don't have to publish, but you need internet to access Weebly. So you need internet to work on it and build it, or can you do it without internet and then it connects to the internet and you hit publish?
Yeah, I believe there's an offline when you open up the app. And I think if it's just left open, you should be able to continue to work on it, even though the internet's not connected there. In fact, let me check. I think there may even be an offline setting on the actual website, like work offline. I'm not sure.
Anybody have any questions? Like, I'm kind of interested to hear how you think that you would be using this in your classroom. We've got another science teacher, Jen, Jill, you're ELA, correct?
Yeah, one of the questions I had is I use Google Classroom, other than uploading and making their own websites, which is really cool, and I like the idea of rather than doing a poster or PowerPoint. Is it much different from Google Classroom? Because I just use it as a website. I haven't gone as far as having them create their own yet.
Yeah, Google Classroom's kind of more of a learning management system. You can actually create assignment boxes, I believe, in Weebly. I haven't messed with it too much because I have them submit all their assignments to Google Classroom. As a matter of fact, I did create a Google Classroom for the trip as well. But as far as the actual material, it's basically just like a website creator. So I would say if you are trying to deliver information or receive information from the students, that's where Weebly's strength is. I don't think I would create it as a website and have them
submit assignments necessarily. Yeah.
I think Google Classroom's better for that. I use Google Classroom to like create announcements.
Right.
And the nice thing about that is it sends out emails to all of them. I don't think Weebly would do that as well.
Okay.
But what I might do is on Weebly, which this is where Google Classroom sort of falls short in my opinion, is I might throw up some like help websites. Like here are some additional websites and have like a page of just websites listed by topic that would help with the material that you're covering in class. Or like I did with the web quest. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. One, do you have a district, like does your district have teacher, like we have to do web pages through WebPress? Do you have, through WordPress. Do you have anything like that with your school?
We did last year, and they kind of got rid of that because everything on our web page now links the students to the Google Classroom page.
Okay.
So now I'm sort of kind of limited with Google, although I believe there's Google Sites, which, if I'm not mistaken, basically you can create web pages that way as well.
Because a question of mine would be, okay, I'm required by my school district to have this WordPress site where I have all kinds of various things. It's not a particularly, I don't know if anybody's ever used WordPress, it's not a particularly intuitive I was playing with the Weebly stuff earlier and found it a great deal more, kind of, oh, that makes sense. You click, you do, And then the other question I had, now, do you use primarily the web page or the blog settings for there?
For the Weebly?
Yeah, for the Weebly.
I use primarily the web page.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're trying to use it for. If you're trying to use it for a blog, that's great, and I think it is useful. I did like having the discussion questions posted there rather than on Google Classroom because if you put the discussion questions in a different place than the videos, then the students, I find, are less likely to answer the questions.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit easier for them to do that. And the other nice thing about Weebly is that you can actually log in using your Google ID, and since our campus is pretty much so district-wide, Google, everyone has Google, Gmail and everything. I just tell the students, basically anything I have them do, I say, all right, you're creating an account, logging in with Google, or using your Google account as your username, and then use your Google password. That way, we don't have to keep looking up what your password was, and I just keep it consistent.
My final question was that, was there a learning curve? Was there somebody who really struggled with it? How did that go, like kids with programming and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, and actually there is an option to insert code on the Weebly, and I've tinkered with code in years past, and decided I really don't like this, so I don't mess with it all. I know I have a few students who can tinker with it, and that would be great for them. It is very user-friendly and a lot easier to work with than some of the other websites I've worked with in the past. I forget. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but you had said, like you said, your thing was due at midnight last night,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you get the email from the one kid at 11:40. You know.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I had that. So actually, I had one student email me, said, my internet is being cruddy right now. It's not working. And I said, do you have I emailed back, obviously you have some internet access.
It's working on your phone.
I said, did you complete the project? Is it ready? You just can't submit on Google Classroom. And I said, if so, email me the link. He emailed me the link, and actually it was one of the better ones I showed you, the Victoria, Canada one. Yeah, that one was relatively nice, and he emailed it to me, and I'm like, all right, you're good to go. Tomorrow we'll get it submitted. That's fine. I had another student basically asking me how to insert pictures onto the web page at, it wasn't 11, but it was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, you've had 2 weeks to work on this. So I gave a brief response and left it at that. And there was about 5 more emails, 5 more posts to Google Classroom about how do I do this, how do I do this. And the next day, she'd figured it out. But the ones who submitted it and did it incorrectly or were missing parts, they can edit that and fix that. The girl who was emailing me last night, I can continue to work with her over the next week because we're finishing up this unit, and continue to work with her to get her to where she needs to be to demonstrate her learning and her understanding. Whereas before, like with a poster board, I mean, that was it. You've turned in your final project. You've got what you've got. And to fix it, you can't. But now I can continue to work with them, and if they have the website created, at least I can say, here's what you're missing, here's what you got to do to improve, here's what you have to show me. So like I said, I'm less worried that it wasn't completed last night. I'm more worried that they submitted something, and then over the next few days I'll be calling them up one at a time to go over with what they showed me and kind of have like a one-on-one conference time. I'll try to keep it like really, really brief, but basically say, all right, so let's look at your web page. Here's what you had to have. You had to have this, this, and this. I see this, I see this, I see this. I'm missing this, or this could be better. So, you know, here's your grade currently. If you want to change this, you come to me and you show me that you've improved or increased or made a change, and then we'll go from there. One other thing I'm thinking about doing is taxonomy is one of the ways that I teach sort of the end of the course for myself. I start with evolution and then get into, all right, so microbiology, plants and animals, and I kind of have them do this project towards the end of the year where they classify plants and animals. Usually involves a trip to the zoo, and I've always had them do that on a PowerPoint, and then last year they had to do it on Google Slides. And I told them, you know, take the pictures and upload them directly to Google Photos, and then you can create the Google Slides that way. And I had a lot of success with that. But what I'm thinking about doing this year is, all right, upload to Google Photos, but now use Weebly. And I'm not completely sure, but I think Weebly can access the Google Photos. If not, they at least have access to the photos anywhere they have access to internet. And then they're going to classify the animals and put them in correct evolutionary and taxonomic order, based on the photos that they've taken. And so that's kind of the next thing I think I'm going to be looking toward for them. Another project I have them do is kind of like the Adopt a City project, except for they also explore a communicable disease. And so I might use Weebly for that as well.
I think you answered most of my questions, but one that I'm curious to hear more about is your grading. It seems to me like they meet with you, it's kind of a one-on-one thing. Do you like give them anything paper-wise to when you're helping them improve, or is that like notes they should be taking? I was just curious if you had like a rubric or anything, like how do you do it?
Yeah, I have a rubric, and the rubric, especially for this one, is pretty much so it's there or it's not there. You have X amount of base points for creating the Weebly and putting in effort and creativity, but then the rest of the points are, you know, 10 points for thorough explanation of the climate, 9 points for, you know, more or less a decent explanation of the climate, but maybe lacking some of the finer details and so on and so forth. And so then I'll go through that with them and show them where they are on the rubric. Now, if it's missing, which is usually the case, it's not really so much those in-between points. It is either you have the climate summary or you don't have the climate summary. Either you have the climate graphs or you don't have the climate graphs. Either you have population data or you don't. The population's a little bit more sticky because some of them just put, here's the population of the city, and they don't have any of the demographics. And I'll say, well, you can talk about religious breakdown, you can talk about racial or ethnic breakdown, you can talk about socioeconomic level. I want to see some of those other things. That's the one where they kind of are in between. And then their environmental issue, whether they've thoroughly discussed the environmental issue or not. And so, yeah, I do have a rubric that's broken down for them to look at for the different point values on the city project. And I give them ahead of time a sheet that basically says, here's the Adopt a City project, here's what is expected of you, here's what I want to see. You have to have these and then X number of things. I think it's listed as 3, but it's technically 4 different things because they do have to have the climate summary as well as the climate graphs. And then the rubric just breaks it down by point value, and so that's given to them ahead of time, and then they also, when they come up, I can look right at it and go over it with them. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I know you said that once this like city project is done, you'll have your students just like take it down. Would you consider allowing them to sort of create, not necessarily the city project, but allowing them to create a website, a Weebly, and then with each, say, page or couple of pages or whatever it is, that's like their project, so that at the end of the year or the end of whatever, if they have this great website with all these information and all this creative projects, they can use that for their college application and for jobs and sort of.
I don't force them to take it down. I mean, this is my first time doing a Weebly as a class assignment. And actually, I really like that idea because it could continue to grow. And that could be their way of demonstrating knowledge. Like, for example, for our professional development, we have to give a, basically, here's what we've learned. And so that's one thing that I'm actually considering doing, is actually using Weebly to get that information to College Ready Ohio. We haven't talked too many details about what we have to do for that, but that's kind of my understanding, is that we're creating an e-portfolio, and I think that Weebly might be one of the things I'll consider. And considering I can even videotape like myself using the swivel unit and upload that to YouTube, then say, here's an example of a lesson that I taught using the information I've learned from College Ready Ohio, and then I could throw that on to Weebly as well.
I love that. I know, not saying obviously that you have to or anything like that. I love the idea of this catch-all.
They want to keep it up. I mean, it's their Weebly account, so they can keep it up if they want to. I guess the thing I kind of need to go over with them is just remember that anything you put on the internet is basically public, so don't be silly. Just like you wouldn't put something inappropriate up on Facebook. Not that some of them realize that, but I mean, just to get across them that there are potential dangers and hazards there. So,
Definitely.
But that's one of the focal points of our school, is we continually talk about social media responsibility, and this is actually, in a way, social media. I mean, it's a little different, but in a way, it's out there for the world to see, and they just need to realize that anything electronic is out there for everyone. So,
does anybody feel like Weebly is a tool that they can use? And if that is the case, what do you think you might want to use in your class? She's typing because the sound is terrible. Doubly. I think I would consider it an upcoming project in bio. I would be interested, Jen, whether you choose to use it or not, to just kind of find out what it is you do and what you use for it. I think just so that all the Catalyst teachers know what everybody's doing and how things are turning out for ecology end of the year. Nice. Yeah. If you could share it, like, just continue to kind of share what you're doing and what you're using. Jill, we were just kind of going over, like, what, if anything, you could potentially see yourself using the Weebly?
Weebly, I really like the idea of them submitting different projects to me that way, because I'm always looking for different ideas. I hate the same old poster or PowerPoint, you know, so being able to do the web quests and that sort of thing, I really like for them. We have not received our iPads yet, so as soon as we get those, we can do more. And I am 8 months pregnant, so I'm going on maternity leave here shortly, so I won't be able to do a ton until I get back from maternity leave. But I'm definitely looking forward to using it with my students more.
Congratulations, first off. And we'll be excited to kind of follow along. I bet if you created a Weebly for like your baby, that your students would love to see that.
Oh, I'm sure. They already asked me, will you text us when you have the baby? I'm like, no.
Shannon, what about you? I know you're a history teacher, so I asked you to come because I was like...
One of the things that my kids do at the end of AP Euro is we go to the Cleveland Museum of Art. And every student is, they're in groups, about 3 usually. They're assigned one of the countries of Europe. So they have to find something, and they have to find a certain number that fit within each time period. So here's the Renaissance, and they have to talk about, then they have to create a presentation that shows the progress, how art expressed the time periods, how art expressed things as it moved along. And I can see a Weebly as opposed to a PowerPoint or something. I've been doing this for a long time, and it was posters. I mean, I remember getting like permission to print the digital and then to print just way back. And the kids have been taking their photos on their phones and things for years. I was planning to have all the kids take the iPads this time. But to do a Weebly of that and have them put together something that, which actually brings up another question for Ben. Have you had kids collaborate on the same one? Did that work well, where they were working on it together?
Okay, so the first thought I had real quick was that they can actually do a slideshow, and you can edit in text. So you could do like a grouping of pictures and have a slideshow on the actual Weebly. So that would be a good application. But as far as collaboration, all right, so for the current project they're working on with the Adopt a City, not so much with the collaboration. That was more of an individual type thing. However, for the Costa Rica trip, yeah, some of them were working on the videos they were recording and such together, and some of them are working on their websites together. The problem with the collaboration is that they're separate websites unless they share each other's usernames or passwords, and so for that instance, they might want to use just one username and have like one editor, or if you want different people working together on it, then use a different, like create a new Gmail account with a new password that everyone has access to.
That's what I was thinking might seem logical, to have them create. And actually, I was thinking about that for other things anyway, because my kids do a lot of, they're assigned they're all in groups of 3 generally. And then they do, like, as they're learning to write the various types of essays, they work on it, like, just right now, they worked on the intro together, then there's 3, it's like a 5-paragraph thing. They did the intro together, each did one of the 3 paragraphs, and then did the conclusion together. And I was thinking that we talked about creating a shared email for your group that you could share all of those things back and forth in. But that could be something that I just do with you. Okay, here's your group, and you're going to you make a group name and then make a group Gmail for that name that everybody has access to in a Google Drive, in a what have you, so that they had a shared space, which I think could then, if they use that same thing for the Weebly, that should work out fine.
And I'm not sure, there might be a way to have Weebly set up. I haven't explored this option to where you do have more than one user on a website. I'm not sure if there's a way to invite them.
Shannon, I do have a question for you. Did you say that that your students go through and they find the pictures that come from this country, and then did you say that you had them reflect on it?
Yeah, it's kind of fun because we actually physically, now we could in this age and in this world go digitally, but it's kind of fun. The Cleveland Museum of Art is a very, very well known, very well respected, and it's got lots of good stuff. So yeah, then they have to reflect on how art is, and they've always done it in presentation form. They've always stood up in front of the class and talked about, so here's Italian stuff, and Italy's all fabulous here, and then they run out of steam, and then they do blah, 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 blah. But they could do that all in the Weebly. They could do their research, do their information. I actually kind of like it because it would create a better record for me for grading and going forward, and for reflection and to show other kids other times. It's nice to have samples to submit. So I think I'm going to try to shift this towards that element of things.
Would you use the blog portion? Because I'm pretty sure, and I know that Ben will correct me if I'm wrong, you can like create a page and then drop the blog section in, so then, or the students could. Would you use that for the reflection piece?
I mean, I started looking at it when you had sent this thing and let's do this. I started clicking on the videos and downloaded the app and started playing with things on the computer, but I haven't actually physically created one as of yet. So I think that's that learning curve of just getting your hands dirty and getting in there and playing with it as a whole.
Right. So thank you, all of you, for attending our first teacher-led official teacher feature with Ben Clutter, where we learned about Weebly. Are there any final questions, or Ben, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we say goodbye for this time?
Real quick, there is an education option, and so I think there's a way to have the student accounts linked to your account, and so I think there is a way that they then can share a web page and collaborate together, but that would require more investigation, and I think it does cap the number of students that you can have. I want to say somewhere between 30 and 40 students. So it's something to look into, but I'm not completely sure. But that was, I guess, just my last thought, and I was sort of kind of exploring as we were wrapping up there. So
fantastic. Thanks for looking into that for us. Does anybody have any other questions? No? Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think it went really well, and I cannot wait to see you all, well, on the 25th, if not before then, on a Hangout sometime. Thanks, guys. Bye.